Hey guys, I just want to make a quick YouTube video of my Cyclone guy. So this is Hardcore Mercenary and I'm level 97 right now. I'm playing an Unarmed build and this build has been far better than I ever expected. The damage is really insane. This is mostly because of the new Mercenary tech, because of Facebreaker buffs and the Runegraft. So my Mercenary buffs me roughly 300 to 400 fist damage from Rallying Cry. And this gets multiplied by 1000 or by 10 times from Facebreakers. How does this skill scales to such absurd numbers without doing lightning damage this league? And so I've made a full guide. This includes leveling with every single level, early mapping, and then I also have a softcore version of this build and a hardcore version, which I am playing right now. And then there's also a Smite version if you guys like Smite. So first I would like to show you the leveling. The leveling has been the smoothest I've played so far. It's insane. You can start to play unarmed, starting from level 24-ish. And the damage is really cracked. Like you feel like you're already at mapping damage. You can see the leveling uniques I used in a POB. And I started off with Spectral Throw. That's pretty common. It's pretty good clear once you have volley. And yeah, this is like a hardcore run, so I was a little bit scared. And then you can switch into shield charge. And as you can see, it's really fast. Like you have a movement skill, you have damage. And yeah, you're just blasting through the Act 1 campaign very smoothly. Once you have volley and you can kill Brutus fairly easily too with the leveling uniques. If you don't have the leveling uniques and you want to league start this, I recommend playing Thunder. So I switched on level 12, as you can see here, to Thunder, and it's just very good DPS. Basically one-shot the boss. This is already me after the Hollow Palm technique swap, and you can see I'm literally one-shotting every single boss here. I don't know if you have ever seen like a one-shot on the Act 2 boss while leveling. That's crazy DPS. You're literally one-shotting all bosses with one hit. Like your tooltip was probably like 100k. And here I swapped to Cyclone. It's just, who doesn't love Cyclone spinning around, moving while clearing mobs? The damage is still cracked. You can clear the campaign easily with this Hollow Palm technique. Feels very smooth to play. Yeah, the campaign was a breeze. You just can blast through it with Hollow Palm. And then on 68, you can slowly start switching to Facebreakers. And here's some footage of me early mapping. This is like a tier 9 map, I think. I already did some changes. As you can see, also in the POB, I have an early mapping setup. And yeah, Cyclone is just good to play around with. This was on my first day, so this is still one day playtime. This is a tier 16, also still 1 day playtime. And yeah, I'm basically just blasting through the maps. Damage is good, and I'm very tanky at this point, so I'm feeling very comfortable in hardcore. And once you actually get a better setup, you will deal a lot more damage. So this is a tier 16 boss. I believe there were some life mods on this map, that's why he's a little bit tankier. This is pretty much my endgame hardcore character. He's pretty immortal at this point against Pinnacle Bosses. I think he can take like 2 Shaper Slams easily. And yeah, he's maxed, he's like 65 spell block. And the damage is pretty good for hardcore, I would say. Although I have to say, the damage you see on the POB is not 100% accurate. You need a little bit of ramp time. Like you need 1 or 2 seconds ramp time until you get your impale stacks up, until you get everything up. So mapping will feel completely fine though. But still, if you're wondering about the boss damage, it will take a little bit of time to ramp. And once you get your impale, once you get your marks, your curses, that's when you really do the top end POB damage. This is some footage of me doing a tier 17, and it's pretty safe. Yeah, you can see the clear is very good with Cyclone. You just run through the mobs, and you're pretty safe. With the hardcore version, the softcore version is more like full DPS. You can sort of make a mixture if you like to be a bit more tanky, if you like to do more damage or less damage. But overall, the build is very cheap to make. And for that value, getting this much DPS is pretty insane. I will now go over the explanation of the build. why the Mercenary is that OP and how he adds this much damage to your build. So let's talk about the Mercenary, because that is the really crucial part. Without the Mercenary, our damage would go from 60 million in hardcore down to 50 million. So he literally quadruples our damage, calculated together with the party scaling. Now, why does he give so much damage? It is because of Rallying Cry and Facebreaker combination. So Rallying Cry taunts nearby enemies and gives a portion of your main hand weapon to allies. So basically it buffs 4% per 5 power to nearby allies. Now what this means is the higher fist damage the weapon of the Mercenary is, the more you will benefit from Rallying Cry. And in this case we're looking for high max fist hit, so I chose Karui Chopper, and I will play a video how to craft this axe. You can get it with a few divines if you have the bases for it, which were pretty cheap in hardcore. And this Mercenary also gives us pride. Now how does Rallying Cry work? So it gives 4% per 5 power, and unique enemies give 20 power, so that would mean it gives 16% of the main hand weapon. And Rallying Cry also accounts for nearby allies, which give 5 power, so it gives 25 power always. And we can anoint Roaring Challenge, which gives total power counted by war cries plus 25%. So this will bring us to 30% or to 30 power, which is the maximum for war cries. So we will always get 24% of the main hand weapon as added fizz from our Mercenary. And on top of that, I have a Perkle's Toe, which gives us lucky damage. Then I have some implicits with Pride Aura effect and Warcry buff effect. Then more Rallying Cry buff effect and Sept Ground. And I have another Screaming Terror, which gives just a couple of worms to kill for some leech sometimes. Avcom's Binding for PDR. And then Breath Stealer to anoint another Warcry buff effect. So in total, this Mercenary has 47% Warcry buff effect with lesser Eldritch currency. You can get up to 30, I think, on the chest, and also a bit more on the boots if you want to optimize. It has more duration and Raging Cry. I think there's also a Mercenary with increased effect of Rallying Cry, and this would be a lot better. And in order to make him cry constantly, I have Foul Crack, so we can just go to Coast, and you will see that as soon as there is an enemy nearby, he will start crying. Or if there's like a worm nearby, he will already start crying like this. Like you see, he's just perma crying because his Warcry doesn't have any cooldown. And this will buff us like 5 seconds or 6 seconds of Rallying Cry. And it's very consistent. And you can always get him if he's like far away, you can always press order to me, but usually in maps it's really fine. And this 400 DPS or 300 to 400 DPS he buffs you will be 10x or 12x with the new Runegraft multiplied. And the tree is very simple. I'm just going a Fizz build with Crit and Impale. So you take a couple of Impale nodes. I have Impale support, Pulverize for a larger area of effect, Volatility, Awaken Brutality, Awaken Melee Fizz, and Cyclone. And I use a Ruslata's Coil to make the max hit as big as possible to make use of Perkle's Toe, because the higher the range, the better lucky is. And yeah, the rest of the gear is mostly defensive, so a defensive chest with suppress and PDR, more suppress and PDR, rings with resist, and a Rigwald's Curse, because unarmed attacks do not have crit chance. So in order to get crit chance, you will have to either use Rigwald's Curse or 7 Teachings, but 7 Teachings is a body armor and you would lose your main defense, so I chose to go for Rigwald's Curse. Yeah, and then it's just the rest is res and spell suppress, and then I have a Dawnbreaker for a little bit of additional fizz reduction. Then for the tree, it's mostly, I took a lot of max res. I also anointed max res since I'm hardcore. I took Perma Fortify, Master of Metal for Impale, then Intimidate and Adrenaline for recovery, and Taunt on hit, so I don't have to scale into accuracy. And there's this Runegraft, really important. That's 20% more bonuses from equipped gloves, really cool. And yeah, I just have a cluster with Prodigious Defense, Feed the Fury, and the rest is just damage. I have Versatile Combatant, so my block right now is 65-65, attack and spell. And yeah, that's about it. I generate Frenzy charges with the Smart Mastery, and Endurance charges I have +1 minimum. And I get sometimes 1 during block, but that's not so reliable. And then for the Timeless Jewel, I have a Brutal Restraint here, which gives us 25% more melee crit chance. It blinds me and I reduce accuracy, but because of Worthy Soul, I can taunt nearby enemies and I don't lose anything. That's just the whole build is very straightforward. just full fizz impale. And yeah, that's the mercenary. You really wanna look for a good axe. Yeah, in order to craft the axe, you need like Karuri chopper, optimally with 26% qual or above. And you just use alterations to spam until you get tier 1 sand fizz, hybrid fizz, or flat fizz. And I just got hybrid fizz right there, and I imprinted it because I didn't want to lose it. And you can recombine it using the unpredictable recombiner, and there's a 1 in 3 chance you will hit your tier 1 flat fizz and your percent. If you have hybrid, such as in my case, you can craft percent fizz for 1 exalt on there. I wasted like 20 exalts until I got like a decent number. Each exalt was like 50C, so that really hurt. But yeah, so that's basically the whole crafting process, just alteration spam for tier 1% and flat, and then recombine and craft fizz. If you happen to get percent, not hybrid, then you can also lock the prefixes and reforge fizz for a chance. Then I bought a Warlords Exalted in hopes of getting additional percent fizz, which I missed again, unfortunately. I got attack speed, and you can finish it out with some tempering orbs to get some fizz explicit modifiers, and that's how I crafted the X basically. If you guys have questions or you would like to comment something, you have improvements, you can comment down below. I'm also streaming on twitch.tv, aloha TFT. You can catch me there live streaming. I'll be playing this build for a little while longer, and yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the video and try out the build and let me know how it feels.